Hello everybody, Ignatius L CPA here with another exciting video for you. So today we're talking about some personal finance tips. So I'm going to go through a few personal finance tips that I think are really important. Okay. One of the greatest things about this country that we live in, the United States of America. Okay. So one of the great things about this country that we live in is the ability to start your own business, to live the American dream, to make a living for yourself, to have freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, all that great stuff, right? So that's one of the great things about this country is we are a free, democratic republic, right? Where we get to voice our opinions and all the great stuff. But at the same time, that means we have to also take care of ourselves. So we have to take care of ourselves. We have to pay ourselves first. Hashtag pay yourself first, right? I talk about that all the time. I put it on a lot of my messages, and it's very, very important that we make sure we take care of ourselves to where we are set up financially so that we're not struggling when we get to retirement age and stuff like that. So we're gonna go through a few personal finance tips that I'm gonna share with you. By no means is it gonna be comprehensive. It's just a few really key things that I think everyone should kind of consider. So stay tuned if you want to hear about these, which hopefully everyone should want to hear about these, and we'll be right back in a second. Hello, everybody, and we're back. All right, so thanks for tuning in again. So today's topic, like I said, we're going to do some personal finance tips. Okay. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to share with you a quick story that I had recently. Okay. So I went on a trip with a bunch of young black youth, so teenagers, right, and some other black men. We went up to Sedona for a little day trip. Okay. And one of the reasons why I wanted to go on the trip is I wanted to talk about personal finance, because I feel like in a lot of cases we're not getting the education, we're not learning about what it means to be, take care of yourself financially in schools, in the universities, and so forth, right? Parents aren't even talking to, in a lot of cases, the kids about any of this stuff. And so I was actually blown away. Okay, so there was two. I asked a question basically, and I said, "Okay, so how many of you have a savings account or invest your money?" I had about roughly 8 hands that went up, right? And then I was like, okay, so out of the 8 people that, do save or invest, how much of your income, are you investing? Actually, let me rephrase this. Let me go back. The question was a little bit different, actually. So let me get the right question out here. So I asked how many people work. So, and about 8 hands went up. So, okay, so eight of their hands went up and said, yeah, we work. So then I asked the follow-up question of how much do you invest or save from the money that you earn from your job? Okay, give me a percentage. And I was blown away. I had one person that said 75%, the other person said about 50% of their income. And I'm just like, wow, that's awesome. Historically, when I've asked these questions, you'd be lucky if you find anybody who's putting away 10% and saving 10% and investing 10% of their income that they were earning, right? But in this particular instance, we had 2 people that were 50% and one that was 75%. And I was just like, man, that's pretty awesome that we have people who are basically spending that or putting that much money away, which makes sense when you don't have living expenses. So, if you're living with your mom or your parents, right, you should be able to save that much of your income at that stage in your life if you're under 18 and still living at home, because you don't have to pay for an apartment. You don't have to pay for probably a car. Maybe you do, depending on if you have one or not, and your parents are paying for it or not. But, you have that ability to basically do some real damage. And so, but I basically kind of followed that up and just said, if you're not currently investing that in a Roth IRA, definitely want to encourage you to do that. So that's one of my first tips is the earlier you start by investing in a Roth IRA, the better it will be for you over your lifetime. Okay? So let me just put it to you this way. If we had, let's say, you save or invest $6,240 per year, which is $520 per month, and you get an average return of 8% on an annual basis, you would have $1.6 million after 40 years. Okay? Just by taking $520 per month and investing it and getting an 8% average annual return, that's $1.6 million after 40 years. So if you start saving at 20, by 60, you're going to have $1.6 million. Okay. Likewise, if you start when you're 16, you'll have, by age 56, $1.6 million. And the more that it sits there and compounds and earns interest, and essentially, right, and gets you earnings, then you're going to have more and more money. Okay. Along those same lines, if you get a 10% average annual return, you'd have $2.7 million. Okay. So, and all you did was put in $6,240 a year. Now, obviously, as your income grows and as you get older, you'll probably end up saving or investing more over time. But even if you never increase that investment number, you could get to that point. So, a modest family, right, making $62,400 a year, could save 10% of their income, which is $6,240 per year, and basically become a millionaire. They'll be millionaires, okay, as a family. So that's pretty sweet. All right. Some people will say,
Oh, well, that's too hard to do. Some people can't really afford to put that much away. They barely can buy food or this and that, yada, yada, yada.
okay, I mean, I get it. There's, in some cases, depending on where you live, I could understand that and see that. But in most places in this country, $62,400 a year will do you some pretty decent justice to where you could save $6,240. Okay. So, I mean, there's plenty of people who don't make half of that. And so those are the people that are really struggling. So I would think if you're making $62,400 a year, you could probably find a few things you can cut back on, or, not do or whatever, and potentially get to the point where you can save at least that much. And even if you can't do that full amount, at least do something. Don't just say, well, since I can't do that, then I'm not going to do anything. That's the wrong attitude. At least start and do something. The earlier you start, the better. If it's even just $1,000 a year, okay, the earlier you start, the better. That's the one thing I cannot stress enough, is the earlier you start, the better. Okay, so that's one tip right there. All right. The second tip is HSAs, health savings accounts, are highly underutilized. One of your biggest expenses in life, once you get to retirement age, is going to be medical care. Okay? Even before retirement age, it's going to be medical care. But especially at retirement age, one of your biggest expenses is going to be medical care. Okay? So you really want to make sure you're paying attention to that and factoring that in. And a health savings account is perfect, especially when you're younger and you don't necessarily need the money. Putting some money into that so that it grows, and you make sure you invest it, by the way, is super, super powerful. Now, the key with health savings accounts, you do not want to take a reimbursement as long as you can afford not to take a reimbursement. Okay? As much as possible, leave the money in that account and let it grow tax-free. But save all your receipts. Save all your receipts, okay? At some point in the future, or if you get into some financial trouble, you can take a distribution from that HSA and take the money out and use it for whatever you need to use it for. Okay? So it's a way for you to force yourself to kind of save in an account, but it's also got a nice backup plan, because you can always pull the money out at any point you want using those receipts that you've been storing up. Okay? So it actually could be a way you can do your emergency fund if you think about it that way. I usually prefer the emergency fund to be in like a CD or a savings account. But if you don't have that much extra disposable income, then an HSA could be a good way to do your emergency fund if that's the way you want to do it. Okay, same thing with the Roth IRA. Because the Roth IRA, if you don't know, you can pull out your contributions at any point in time. Okay, so you don't have to leave those contributions in until you're 59 and a half. You can pull those out at any point in time. So if you come in some rough times, you could always pull out the money and take care of what you need to take care of. Okay. So those are two just really key points that I wanted to touch on today about personal finance. I feel like there are two things that people are often not thinking about or not factoring into their, analysis on what they're kind of doing. Okay. So really want to stress, consider doing both of those things. And either way, whether it's HSA or the Roth IRA, the earlier you start, the better it's going to be for you from a personal finance standpoint. Save and invest, pay yourself first. Try to have a goal of saving and investing at least 10% of your income. Okay, you can spread out that savings between your emergency fund, your Roth IRA, your HSA, all that can have some of your savings. Okay, it doesn't have to all be in one bucket. You can split it up however you want to split it up, but try to save at least 10% of your gross income, and it will set you up tremendously for the future. I promise you. I promise you. It's just that simple. Just 10% of your gross income, you're going to be set up for the future. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Let's see. We're going to be back with more great topics in the future. So stay tuned. As always, we recently had the 4th of July, so thank you to anybody who has served, for making this country how it is. There's a lot of debate about, whether 4th of July is really about freedom. I still believe it is. I mean, freedom from Great Britain, right? And so it's just a great time to recognize everyone who's kind of served both at home and abroad. So we got great people that serve here at home, and we got great people that served us as a country abroad, fighting for whatever we needed to fight for. Okay, so yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope everybody has a good one, and we'll talk to you some more later. Have a good one.